All right, so today's notes are on circles. Our content objective is to write the equation of a circle in standard form, and our language objective is to use terms including center and radius to explain how to write the equation of a circle in standard form. So we're going to start by talking about standard form of a circle. It is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Hopefully you recognize some similarities to our vertex form of a quadratic. So x minus h squared is just like vertex form. But this time, instead of having y equals x minus h squared, we have y minus k squared as well. That's because h and k are actually going to be the centers, or the center coordinates of our circle. So h and k are the center coordinate, or is the coordinate of the center of the circle. R, you may have guessed, is the radius. I forgot to write that in here actually. R is the radius. So r squared is what goes here. So you just square the radius to figure out what goes on the other side of the equation. The other thing that we need to note here is just like when h is plugged in, we switch the sign because it's being subtracted. The same is now true with k in this form. So obviously k is not switched when we write vertex form of a quadratic, but when we're writing a circle, since it's in parentheses squared with y in there, it also switches signs. All right, so with that in mind, let's do an example. So our first example today asks, what is the equation of the circle with the center 5, -2, and a radius of 6 units? So step 1, we identify h, k, and r. H is 5, k is -2, and r is 6. So h, k, r. Then we're going to substitute, and you may be able to do this, the simplifying in your head. So I have x minus 5 squared plus y minus -2 squared equals 6 squared. And then my last step is going to be to simplify. Maybe you intuitively did that when you substituted. But when I simplify, I get x minus 5 squared plus y plus 2 squared. So again, it switches signs when I plug it in, equals 36. That is the standard form of my circle. So I may ask you to go the other way, so identify the circle and radius. So for the quick check, I'm going to have us do that. So I'm asking, what is the center and radius of the circle with the equation x plus 3 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 5. So try that on your own. I'm going to go over it now. So again, I'm switching signs as I take them out. So h is going to be -3, k is going to be +1, and r squared is going to be 5. So that means that my center is going to have the coordinates -3, 1. So that's the center coordinate. And then I have to square root to get my r value. So r is going to be the square root of 5. So my radius is square root 5. I've successfully found the center and radius of that circle. So the last example I want to go, or last example in quick check I want to go through with you is a little bit trickier. So I'm going to flip a page. Most of what we're going to focus on is just that, so the basics of circles, but just because I feel like we've been completing the square and doing other similar processes, I'm going to have us try this as well. So I'm asking, what is, sorry, there's an extra on there. What is the equation of the circle in standard form? And this time I'm not giving you the center and radius, I'm giving you the circle in a different form. So general form here. We're not going to spend a lot of time with this. It's more of a challenge section for now. But I want us to figure out what is the equation of this circle in standard form. So we have general form, we want to convert it to standard form. So I might also give you this form and ask for the center and radius, and by converting it to standard form, you can then determine the center and radius. So what we're going to do first is rewrite with x's together and the y's together. Also, I just realized this is not exactly general form. You'd have to move the 8, but tedious detail, not super important, but 8 would technically be on the other side for general form. Regardless, so I'm going to rewrite this with the x's together. So I have x squared plus 8x. I'm going to leave space as well. So leave space between 8x, or x squared plus 8x, leave some space, plus y squared minus 10y, leave some space, equals 8. And I'm not going to have enough room there, but I'll make do in a minute. So this is my new version. And the reason I left space is because I'm going to complete the square, create a perfect square trinomial like we did when we were solving by completing the square. So then I'm going to, again, do what I did to complete the square. So divide the coefficients of x and y by 2. So I'm going to do 8 over 2, which is 4. And I'm going to do negative 10 over 2, which is negative 5. So I take these coefficients and I divide by 2. Then I'm going to write my binomial. So I'm going to write my binomial square with those values. So now, just like we did with completing the square, I have x plus 4 squared plus y minus 5 squared. So these just went into my binomials. Equals, to figure out what my r is, I'm going to square those values, that says values, and add to both sides. So again, just like completing the square, I'm going to square 4 squared is 16. So I'm going to add 16 to both sides. Negative 5 squared is 25. So I'm going to add 25 to both sides as well. Sorry, this is so cramped, but that's why I said I wasn't going to quite have enough room. So when I add all 3 of those together, I get 49. So this value is what gives me my final value there. So sorry, that's a little bit cramped, but I just squared those values. That's a 25, 16, and 25, added them to both sides. And this side, it didn't really matter because I created my binomials. This side was important because it told me my r squared. So my final answer is going to be x plus 4 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals 49. We're going to do a quick check with it just to make sure it's as clear as possible. So again, I'm not going to write the whole problem, but x squared plus y squared minus 6x plus 14y equals 8. I want you to convert that to standard form. Try it on your own. Pause it if you need to. I'm going to go over it now. So again, I start by rewriting so that the x's are together. So x squared minus 6x, and then plus y squared plus 14y. Leave space for the 8. I do negative 6 over 2, which is negative 3. So now I've started to write my new equation. And then I'm going to add square 3 and add 9. So negative 3 squared goes here. And then again over here, I add 9. Then I'm going to do the same thing with 14. 14 over 2 is 7. So I have plus y plus 7 squared. And then when I square 7, I get 49 here, but then I also have to add it to the other side. So I added 49 and 9, and that adds up to 66. And that would be my standard form. All right, so make sure you write down any questions, comments, or concerns you have in this stuff so we can go over it together in class.